Success is the most fascinating word in everybody's life. We agree, isn't it? If I was speaking to people who are not successful, I could have given hours and hours of talk on motivating them, on pointing out to them that success is your birthright and everybody is born to succeed. But it is very, very difficult to speak to people who are already successful. It is no doubt a great challenge. But then the topic being what it is, I think successful people do like challenges, don't they? No response? You are successful, I'm sure you love challenges. I'm now heading one of our international schools, and children are the best teachers. There's wonderful things that we can learn from children. And one of the children came up to me and said, Swamiji, who is the happiest man in this world? So I said, that's me. My name itself is Swarup Ananda. Yeah, that which means whose nature is happiness. So I'm the happiest man in the world. He flatly looked at me and said, no. So I said, since you don't agree with me, and I'm sure you have your own opinion at this age, why don't you tell me who's the happiest man in the world? And he said, the happiest man in the world is the one who discovered the matchbox. Made no logical sense to me. So I said, tell me the logic of it. You always keep questioning why. I also want to ask why. And he said, the happiest man in the world was the one who discovered the matchbox, because when he discovered the matchbox, it was a striking success. Success thrills us. Success gives us further confidence for success. Yet, very often a very important point is missed out, that success is that which leads us to further success. But a time comes where success itself becomes our limitation. Success itself conditions us. Success itself is that prevents our progress. When that happens, we live in the glories that have been achieved. We are too busy maintaining our success, but we are not able then to move to even greater success. As we become more successful, we become even more cautious. And then success is in steps. But the quantum leap that we all desire, where deep down there is this urge that I can be far greater than what I imagine myself to be, that gets limited very often with our own previous success. It is to lead us from this success to significance that the great masters, call them spiritual masters, call them management masters, call them scientists, they have tried their best over millenniums to take humanity beyond their present limitations to not only greater height of success, but to significance. Constantly we are motivated to greater and greater success. But that success which leaves a legacy behind, that success which gives a sense of fulfillment, that success which takes us beyond our own imaginations of ourselves to discover our real potential, that success is what these great masters of the past wanted, aimed, taught, and they also were able to achieve themselves. In fact, years ago, it was almost about 12 years ago, I was still very fresh from our seminary in Powai, Bombay. After having studied Vedanta, I was asked for the first time to come and address a business seminar. One very famous consultant, motivator, was addressing some of the largest companies' CEOs, and they were from different parts of the country, from different backgrounds. And he insisted, when he heard that some Chinmaya Mission Swami is in town, he said, I want someone to just come and just light the lamp to inaugurate the function. Those members who knew of my slight business background from before, they insisted that I come. At that time, I was a bit hesitant. I said, you sure? Are you pushing it? Yeah. Or that person wants it? Because in a business forum, what will they want to see a Swami there? And the moment they see some spiritual personality, immediately there's a mindset as to what is he going to tell us about business. And truly enough, I was not going to go there and talk about some business or some management techniques or some philosophy on management. I was not going to talk about any of that. They said that this person has insisted. Anyway, I went. And when he greeted everybody, he said something so striking that made me wonder that why do we, even as spiritual monks, limit ourselves? For he pointed out some great achievements which we sometimes fail to see. He said that when most companies in this world generally survive for 2 decades, and some rare companies like General Electrics, etc., have maybe survived for a century, spiritual institutions have been managed not over centuries, but even over millenniums. Building resources, generating and inspiring people, generating income, inspiring people, and have survived. What must be their management techniques? Once Swami Chinmayananda was addressing a group of business people, and he said, we send our children to study management in different countries. Management techniques differ from place to place. American management techniques, does not work in Kenya. Kenyan management techniques will certainly not work in a sophisticated place like America. But what we require is the principle and philosophy of management. And when we have this philosophy of management and that principle of management, then only we will be able, wherever we are, in whichever field we are, to manage in such a way that we reach greater success. And in spite of having all the techniques and philosophies, there's one thing we forget until unless we learn to manage the manager himself. Nothing can be managed, isn't it? But the question is, who is the manager? And we forget the manager is our own mind. And it is in this mind only that all our success is already imprinted. The heights of our success we have already imprinted. Our own limitations we have imprinted in this mind. And very often, having attained great success, we wonder, what more? I remember one very interesting incident. One army general came to meet me and asked for a private interview. I told him, why do you want a private interview? Because, I generally fear those private interviews. Because generally, you have to hear problems which you don't have for over an hour, for which they are looking for no solutions, and that too free of charge. So I asked him, I said, why do you want to meet me? He said, I have certain questions. So I said, why don't you ask in front of everybody else? Others will also benefit. So he said that, sir, Swamiji, I can't ask in front of everybody. I'll feel it's a bit embarrassing. So I feel if it's that embarrassing, you shouldn't be asking a monk. He said, no, Swamiji, it's not that, but can I meet you? Of course, I met him. And then he started telling him how he was a commander general in the army and how he can command a whole army and his success in the army and how all these young people get so inspired by him. And if he said forward, march, they would march. Even if there's a ditch, they would fall in the ditch, but they would not stop till he tells to stop. That was his command. So after he told me his great success, I asked him, I said, but what's the problem? I mean, let's get to the point. He said, I can command an entire army, Swamiji, but I can't command my wife at home. I looked at him absolutely unsympathetically and I said, you're not the only man in the world. So he said that, a wife I can understand. She's my equal partner. But what to talk about my son? Teenage son is going late at night. I ask him, where are you going? He said, Dad, do I ask you when you go in the morning, where are you going? Yeah. He said, well, I go for my business. He said, well, you mind your business, I mind my business. This is the answer I get. He was very successful in the army, but at the same time, in the family, he was a disaster. When we talk about success, we generally speak about success in a particular field. I'm sure when we said success here, if I asked, and I'm asking, and you can say it in your mind, if I ask all the gentlemen here, what is success? What would you say? What would you say? So first answer came money. Yeah? More money. And which means more success means even more money. Is it not? Now may I ask, and some of the ladies here are executives, CEOs, and great achievers. At the same time, whether they are achievers at home or they are achievers in the marketplace, they are all achievers. Let me give you an example. Two ladies were sitting in the bus in New York, and I was traveling in the bus because I wanted to experience that life of New York. And one lady is telling the other lady, this is highly embarrassing. Yeah. I went to the secretariat, and there I had to fill up this form, and that woman there sitting there asked me, what is your profession? And I had nothing to tell her because I am a housewife. It was very, very embarrassing for me. And when I told her that I'm a housewife, she said, well, that's not a profession. What is your profession? I'm not a working woman. I'm looking after the children. The other woman said, well, I'm also a housewife. But last time when I went to a place like this, and that lady was sitting behind the counter with her spectacles, asking me what is my profession. And she said, I'm an associate in child management. Yeah. I'm a consultant in healthcare. Yeah. I work 20 hours a day and I manage human resources. Suddenly that woman got up and opened the door for her. I said, isn't she such a great housewife? But when you ask a woman, and when I've had special seminars on women, whenever I ask who is a successful woman, what answers do you get? When I ask the woman here, what is success? What would you say? Somebody said, not money, diamonds. But the success measured by a woman is far different from the success measured by a man. Invariably, in seminars where there are only women, when I've asked them this question, what is success? Very often they have spoken, even though they are working women, they have very often said, family, peace, happiness. Just yesterday, one of the very wonderful women that I met, she's also an achiever in the business world. I was asking her and talking to her, and she just said that there are a great number of women today who are CEOs, yet there are far less such successful women compared to men. I just burst out and I said, there are far more successful women than men. So she said, but you don't see them at the top. You don't see them at the top. Because today we are measuring success based on the criteria of men. But success is something very subjective. Success is very subjective. That Olympic winner who got the gold medal in 1984 for the best runner, when everybody praised him, glorified him, and asked him, how does it feel? He said, sad. They said, why? Why are you so sad? You won the gold medal for which thousands of people have been aspiring for. You're victorious, you're successful. He said, no, I missed the world record, breaking the world record by just 0.012. For him, success meant something different. For most people, success means winning a medal. Yet, success in one field, if it compromises and creates a failure in the other field. And very interesting, I found that whenever I've had a group of mixed management people, it is very interesting to see the ambition of the young and the not so successful people, and the restrictedness of the people who are at the top management, and invariably to find out, I remember the first business seminar that I conducted, the organizers, I had told them that one of the topics in my session will be on family. Immediately, all of them revolted against it and said, Swamiji, it is not an emotional seminar, it's a business seminar. People are looking up for how to make more, to have more success in business, etc., etc. They were going on. I said, okay, if you're that nervous, but I am not nervous about it. Swamiji, it's not a spiritual seminar, it's not an emotional thing. They went on. Anyway, when I was having the seminar and we were having certain workshops, invariably in the workshop, certain issues came up. They started coming up from the mind because we were talking about what limits the mind and what limits our success. And it was surprising to see that most people who were in the top management, great achievers, were either divorced was undergoing divorce, and those who had not said that the chances are quite good. We cannot take our life in parts. Monetary success is definitely important, and in the world, definitely people's success is judged on monetary basis. But our life is not just money. There is family, there is health, there is our own inner satisfaction. And life as a whole, how can we make it successful? That has been the theme of all the great masters, as I said, whether spiritual or material masters of science, who have tried to bring about success which will be significant in our life. As we ask the question, most people think that success is linear. Yeah. More and more and more and more. And as much as we think about the heights of success, and we generally say heights of success, isn't it? Even in language. We talk about heights of success. We are always thinking of expansion linear upward. And there are some people who are dizzy about heights. Yeah. Some people who are short and cannot grow tall. And sometimes, even in the height, we begin to feel how much more and for what? After having billions, today we are not talking about billions. Today achievers are those who are talking about trillions. We have reached those marks not only in, first world countries, even in third world countries, people are talking about trillions today. But after that, what? Our thinking has become so linear that we do not think about expansion. Where do we expand to? How can we make our success significant? Because after some time, many people have come up to me and asked me, I have attained more than what I aimed for, what my goals were. I have attained that amount of money that I do not even know what I can do with it. Generations of my family can live by it. Still, I can't stop myself. Should I, like a Buddha, give up everything and go and attain peace? Very often spiritual people will say, yes, donate all that money to our institution. Yeah. Come and join in, and we will teach you meditation. Many such dissatisfied people came to my guru, Swami Chinmaya. And when he met people like you, he said, very few people in the world can even produce wealth. And do not ever condemn wealth. Wealth is certainly not everything in life that we often make it to be. But wealth is certainly one of the necessities of life. And very few people can attain and achieve wealth. Therefore, majority of the world is poor. Very few people are rich. Very few people can produce. Very few people have developed within themselves the capacity, the abilities to produce wealth. Very often, those who don't have call them as lucky. Yeah. But very often, people who say that don't understand that to produce wealth also, one requires certain development within and require certain talents, certain abilities, certain vision, and a certain amount of confidence. He used to say very few people can earn wealth. But the question is, how much more? And that's when I first heard this word, significance. He says, make your success significant. Do something with your wealth that will not only enrich your wealth, enrich your life also, giving you a greater sense of satisfaction and fulfillment, bringing about in every avenue of your life success, but most important, benefiting many more those who cannot themselves achieve the success that you have achieved. In the Bhagavad Gita and the lives of all the saints and sages of the various religions of the world, if you take their lives, they were great people in themselves. They not only attained success, but they had attained greatness. But it is that one vision that they had, that they understood that they had a special purpose in their life. Take the example of Swami Vivekananda. He, having attained spiritual realization from a great master like Sri Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, he was attained his realization. He was no doubt great. But when he sat on the rock at Kanyakumari, and he thought that the world looks at India as only curry eaters. But the wealth of knowledge that we have, where religions are beginning to fight with each other, where there is a religion that speaks about oneness. Let me take that to the world. Empty-handed, when he reached Chicago, he did not even have food to eat. But he brought significance to even the highest achievement, and that is self-realization. Whether it was Jesus, whether it was Buddha, whether it was Swami Vivekananda, whether it was Ved Vyasa, whether it was Prophet Muhammad, they could have been satisfied with attaining their self-realization. Whether it was Guru Nanak, whether it was Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib, all these great spiritual masters, there have been really thousands of spiritual realized people, but few attained significance because they added something more to the infinite. How can anybody add anything to the infinite? Because they thought beyond themselves to embrace the many. Just recently, I was in Kuwait last week itself, and one of the young ladies came up to me, very young lady came up to me, and she said, Swamiji, you're going to Nairobi? Nairobi is my birthplace. Oh, Swamiji, isn't it beautiful? And I said, one of my, and this is not flattery or anything, I said, there are two places which I find very beautiful. One is, of course, the Himalayas. The other is Nairobi. She said, yes, but Swamiji, after many years, I went to Nairobi. But I was very sad. I said, why you are sad? She said, in the 15 years that I have been outside Nairobi, outside Kenya, I have seen places like the Middle East desert becoming a paradise. I've seen it become a paradise. The roads, the buildings, etc. that have been built. But when I went to Nairobi, I didn't see any of that. It's the same. Something's the same is very nice, Yeah. Like one wife. Came up to me and said, Swamiji, this husband of mine attends all your spiritual discourses, but no change has come in him. I said, that is a compliment. In this world when people get worse, if he is not changed, that's a great thing. I said, ask other wives. Their husband have become worse. Your husband has remained the same. See, in a collapsing economy, if you maintain yourself, that itself is a great achievement. And that some of you have done in the last 10 years. I have been visiting and I know what crisis Kenya has been going through. From 1992 when I came here, at that time everything was booming, and in a few years how everything started collapsing, even I saw it. I have seen the rise, how India has risen economically in the last few years. And yes, the billions of reserves that we have today, but sadly enough, our poverty has not yet gone. Yesterday, as I was in the car and we were driving on the highway, suddenly I saw a face in front of my window shield. Looked like a sad beggar, a young 12-year-old boy. He looked into the window, and at that moment I thought he was probably looking out for some alms. But in a flash of a second, two of them came on the two side mirrors, snatched the mirrors, and they ran. The women in the car were almost screaming in fright. The men were shocked. But looking at it, at that moment, I just felt sad. That what prompts these young little children during their play days to risk their life in the middle of the traffic to do all these things? What more can we do with our wealth that can bring about a significance? Not only that our lives get enriched, but the lives of others get enriched. Really speaking, wealth is available in the world for everybody. What do? We tap oil from earth, gold from earth, all vegetation, grains from earth, and that only when modified becomes our wealth. Is it or is it not? That is our wealth. So from nature only we take wealth. We made billions in this world from wood, but we planted no trees. Today we can't make money on wood. Or yes, there are few people who make a lot of money on the little wood that is available. Yeah? Demand. Okay. But if we did not give back, we did not regenerate our forests, today we cannot produce more in that field. Agreed or not? Yeah. What is the responsibility that we have? And today companies around the world are showing, and these companies are achieving not only great heights, but great recognition and significance. Some of the striking examples are there in India itself today. Big names we hear in India of people who have built their companies on ethics, on morality, in a country which is as corrupt as most countries today in the world. How have they achieved significance? They've thought about the ecology, they've thought about the people, they've thought about others. And they've created such an empire today that the world is stunned that how India is producing not only such great personalities, but at the same time such big companies. It reminds me of someone who told me a joke. Because when things get too serious, no? Because as I said, I'm not here to preach anything. But what I'm trying to say is, it should not become like, so serious. But someone told me a joke, but that joke is of great significance, because in joke also we can have significance. Yeah? In humor also there can be significance. There can be those slapstick jokes, there can be those dirty jokes that goes on the SMS. But there is sometimes, even from humor, you can get great significance. I very often from Nairobi go to Lagos. And Nigeria is the only country, as you know, in recent history almost went through bankruptcy. And yet, you know that that country is 10th largest in oil reserves. And any country that has got oil is the richest country in the world today. Its soil is so fertile that even they say if you spit out a seed, it will grow. Yeah. All raw material available, all riches available, and yet that country went through bankruptcy. Someone told me a very nice joke. He said, an American, an Englishman, and a Nigerian, all three of them died. Yeah. They died, and when they met on the other side, and there you know that there is someone who accounts all your sins and merits. And these days, it is on Microsoft Excel. So as they were measuring all their sins or counting their sins, it's very easy these days. You just type in and the sum total comes out, including well calculated how many years of hell and how many years of heaven, everything well calculated. And all three of them were being sent to hell. Yeah. And for many, many years. So all of them said, and whoever sits there, whether it's Michael or Chitragupt, or Peter, whoever sits there was telling them, didn't you know that there was hell? You committed so many sins. They said, you see, when the priests were speaking about them, we never believed them. Because very often they are so boring. Yeah? We never believed in them. So please, give us a chance. Now that we are on this side, can we call our family and tell them that there is something called hell? Can we tell them that there's something called hell? Because they will believe us. Because we are calling from the other side. He said, yes, we are calling, but how are you going to pay for it? Nothing comes free these days, not even in hell. Yeah. These days, every service you have to pay. Yeah. So, we said, sorry. They said, well, we still have our credit cards. And since they just died, they had not been, So he said, we have our credit cards. So he said, okay. The American used his credit card, spoke on the phone, told his family there is hell, I'm seeing it, there is hell, so please, my son, straighten up. Anyway, cheapest rates are to America from around the world. The farthest of a country from all the world, the cheapest rates are there. And he paid a bill of $30. The Englishman, when he spoke with all his courtesies, etc., and of course asking about the weather on the other side, and describing the weather on this side, which is very, very hot. When he described the weather on this side, and his bill came about 90 pounds. The Nigerian, when he spoke, and he's got an extended family, when he spoke to everybody in the family and told them about it and went on talking about it, he spoke for over an hour, and his bill came just 35 cents. The Lord of Death sitting there said, you Nigerian manage corruption here in my place also? Mean the American said, this is not fair, we are going to sue you. How can our bill be so high and his bill be so low? He spoke for 1 hour to Nigeria and only 35 cents. Immediately the Nigerian said, no, there is no corruption, I'm coming to hell, how can I be corrupt? There is no corruption. Then how can your bill be so small? How the amount be so small? He said, because mine was a local call from hell to hell. Why did it become hell? Yeah. You have Nigerians who have got billions in Swiss banks. And today, they cannot use it. Yeah. Your walls are still quite low. You should go to Nigeria. They live in fortresses. They have palaces, but they live in fortresses. They have chandeliers, but they do not have power. That's not very difficult for them. They import generators from UK. But in the land which has got oil has got no diesel even for their generators. Yeah. Where they've got wealth to enjoy, but no security to live life. Isn't it? What if that wealth was made a little bit more significant in investing back in that country, where their own riches would have gone far more for a longer period of time, and where they could have enjoyed their riches? It reminds me of a very, very interesting ancient story, which is told to us in India, that people from the heavens and people from the hell, and mind you, hell people are very intelligent too. Because remember, to commit a crime, you need far more intelligence than to do good. Yeah. So intelligence is not the criteria. The people of hell and the people of heaven. The people of heaven are living in luxury, and the people of hell, far more intelligent than the people of heaven, were living in darkness. They went up to the Lord and they complained. They went up to God and complained, God, this is unfair. You are unfair. Why are we in darkness and they in light? Why are they always so prosperous and we land up, in spite of all our wealth, in darkness, in sorrow, in hatred, etc.? Lord said, I gave the same world to all of you. I gave the same world to all of you. It's up to you what you did with it. They said, no, there's some partiality. Some people are lucky, other people are damned. That's the way the world is, and you are unfair, God. So, to show his love to them, he threw a banquet. A banquet party. And Lord's banquet means who is there? Both from hell and heaven. Yeah. And, these parties that you have, until unless there is a theme to the party, there's no fun. Yeah. Nowadays, the in thing everywhere is Bollywood party. Yeah. Or it is Disneyland party, or it's Victorian party, or it's a masquerade, whatever. They have these different. So some theme. Here the theme was, it was a straight hand party. Everybody's hands were zapped with a laser when they came inside, and everybody, while they were in the hall, would have straight hand. It was fun. Games were with straight hands, dances were with straight hands. It was quite innovative. They all had with straight hands. They were having a lot of fun. Finally, it came time to eat. And both were separated because their food is of different type. The heavenly denizens were sent to one room. The people from hell were sent to another room. Till then, it was a lot of fun, because now and then when somebody was passing their hand, oh, I'm sorry, my hand is straight. Yeah. They could fool around also. But when it came to time to eat, try eating with a straight hand. Eat. They tried every tactics. They threw the food up, tried to catch it. Each one was trying to feed himself, but they could not feed. And the banquet was so great. The buffet laid out was fantastic. The food was smelling so good. And yet, hungry, none of them could eat. And as they came out to their frustration when they saw the heavenly denizens, and in India all heavenly denizens are nice and big. Yeah. When they saw the heavenly denizens licking their tongues and describing the fruit and how delicious it was, and their bells busting, they said, there must be something unfair. How could they eat? We could not eat. We are more intelligent than them. We are more innovative than them. How could they eat and we could not eat? Again, something else must be provided to them that we don't have. Why some people can attain such heights of success while others don't seem to. The Lord took them to that. And what did they realize? With a straight hand you cannot feed yourself, but with a straight hand you can feed each other or not. In the Bhagavad Gita, we have a great hero in Arjuna, a man who has achieved success all his life. And not only achieved success, but has attained great name, popularity, and fame also. He's also facing the most challenging war of his time as a warrior. And if he succeeds that war, he would be in the pages of history forever. What more could a person ask for? What more? But it is there where Shri Krishna gives him that success becomes significant. Success becomes significant when you add something to your success in which you lose nothing. In which you lose nothing. Once I was speaking in a seminar and I was motivating younger people to attaining greater success. One arrogant youngster came up to me and he had a cup of coffee. It was filled to the brim because there's so much pressure of parents also on these youngsters. It was filled to the brim. He came straight to me, kept it in front of me and he said, "How much more?" How much more? If already you've reached the top limits, the cup is full, what more can I do? I just saw that it was a full cup, which means he has not drunk from it. Yeah. I just picked up a big spoon of sugar, added to it, mixed it. Not a drop fell out. And I drank it and said, "Thank you." There is something that you can add to your success which enriches the success, and yet in the limitations that you think of your success, it adds significance. This type of success, where we don't limit ourselves, first and foremost is by expanding our vision and our personality. By expanding our vision and our personality. 3 things have been pointed out is necessary to gain significance in success. One thing we know also in the world, if you want success in a particular field, you have to have a complete knowledge of that field in which you are working, isn't it? But today, all our schools are constantly, even our work field is only teaching us to concentrate on the field, but makes us forget the knower of the field. We know so much about the field that we work in, but how much less do we know about the knower? How much less do we know about ourselves? Our charming master of ceremony, when she met me yesterday, she said, "I sometimes ask myself the question, what is my favorite color? And even that I cannot answer. How much do I know about myself?" What do I know about myself? What do I know about the working of my mind, which is to manage my life and the field of my activity and my success? And most of all, what is knowledge? What is knowledge? Is reading books knowledge? In fact, who is the second richest man in the world? Mr. Buffett? On the email, I got a very nice address of his to university youngsters. And of course, he's not encouraged them to be dropouts, but what he's encouraging them, he says, the first richest man, Mr. Bill Gates, is a dropout. Yeah. He himself is a dropout. And he says that if I had graduated with the degree from this college, I would be earning a few hundred thousands like most of you are going to earn. With your degree and stiff collars, that is all that I would have earned. He said, be daring enough to venture into the world. The world is there for you. Mere learning of books, mere learning of techniques, mere knowledge that is called as information is not enough. What is real knowledge? If you see in this world, to attain success, all of you, whether in the family, whether in the work field, required first and foremost is confidence, is it not? You had the confidence that you could do it, and if you did not have, somebody encouraged you, and over the period of time, the little success that you gained built your confidence, and first and foremost, that confidence led you forward. Is it not? That confidence led you forward to achieve the success that you have achieved today. And mind you, in this competitive world, in this challenging world, you had to have your ego to face the challenges, is it not? It was required, it is required to face the challenges of the world. You had to save, you had to invest. In thinking of yourself, you forgot yourself also. Is it not? In trying to earn for the family, you neglected the family also. Isn't it? I read something so beautiful somewhere. Says it's interview with God. And the interviewer asks God, what is the greatest wonder that you find in your creation? He says, man is the greatest wonder. I mean, human beings are the greatest wonder. He says, when they are children, they constantly want to grow up. And when they grow up, they want to be children again. Man earns money and ruins his health and then spends all his money for health. When you think about it, now, for success, you need a competitive ego to sustain yourself. Even as much as battering you get, like a bull, you have to move ahead. You may have even had to trample over some people to move ahead. You may have even destroyed competition, had it have takeovers, etc. And to attain this type of success, this ego is necessary. But to attain significance, something totally opposite is necessary. That's why we find that after a certain time, we find that we are not able to achieve anything more, no greater fulfillment, not even more wealth. And that same confidence and ego that brought me to where I am today becomes my limitation. To attain significance, to attain success, we need an ego. We need that confidence. But to attain significance, we need something totally opposite, and that is humility. Devashi Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, when he speaks about knowledge, he doesn't talk about knowledge about this or that. He says, amanitvam adambitvam. He says, humility is knowledge. And I'll point out to you companies that have attained great significance. There was one company which had gained great reputation in the market. I avoid using names sometimes, but sometimes it's nice also to give names. This company had attained great merit and was achieving, great success. Suddenly, they got complaints from their customers from around the world that in the containers there were some empty cartons. The number of cartons were the same, but there were some empty cartons. This definitely doubted the integrity of the company. The company was, everybody in the company was very anxious to find out what is the cause, who is, corrupt in the company, what is happening. And they found out that nobody in the company was corrupt. Nobody was sending empty boxes. But that whole corruption was happening in that one machine, packing machine, where after every 100 cartons, one carton would go out empty. One carton would go out empty. So naturally, they were a bit anxious as to what to do. They called in consultants, engineers, people who had made that packing. It was a huge machine, and the losses were going to be great. Even to change that whole machine, to send up the whole thing, it was millions of dollars. They were trying to find solutions, but they couldn't find any solutions. What was causing that one out of 100 to go empty? Nobody could find out. Finally, it was almost being decided that they have to change the whole machine, buy a new machine. This was going to cost them millions of dollars, even time, etc. Meanwhile, at that time, one of the electricians, what they call them, janitor of that mill, he came up to the boss, kept on saying, I want to meet you. He said, probably he's coming for a raise, and here I'm under such crisis, and he's coming for a raise. Finally, he barged into his, manager's office and told the manager, can I give a solution? He said, these engineers have got no solution. What solution do you have? He said, why are you spending so many millions? Why are you spending so many millions? I just need $100 and I will solve this for you. He looked at him with amazement. He said, $100? Why do you want $100? He said, I just want to buy a powerful fan. So what will you do with the fan? He says that when all the cartons are going through the belt into the container, if I have a powerful fan, the empty box will fly off. Sometimes we look for solutions in millions of dollars when the solution can be so simple. Yeah? The wisdom that he had, all the consultants did not have, engineers did not have. To gain knowledge, what we need is humility. Thus, we need to know the field. We need to gain further knowledge. And most of all, we have to know the knower of the field. Today, when I'm working with many of our children who want to gain great success in sports, in their studies, etc., We feel time is so limited. What can they do in that limited time? And just recently, one student came up to me. He said, Swamiji, I want to leave our residential school. Not because I don't love the school. I love the school. But I want to play cricket at national and international level. And with all the studies and the activities here, I will not be able to give that much time to cricket. Therefore, I think I'm going to go to a day school, and there I will be spending more time in cricket, while here I can't. Swamiji, will you give me permission as a director to leave the school in the middle? I said, you have my permission, but would you like to do something more significant? He said, what? I said, this notion in your mind that you need to spend more time on cricket to attain success in cricket is only the limitation of your mind. Are you ready to remove your limitation? Then with the time that is available here, you can attain success. He said, but Swamiji, how? A few years ago, I had created a program called Make It Happen. And this was mainly for CEOs who want to go beyond their limits of success, and brought out a technique called as mind mapping. Had one session with him, and I said, first of all, I want you to do is remove this notion from your mind that you require time for practice to be successful in your, that is the limitation that you feel. Remove that from your mind. And I helped him through certain meditation technique to remove that from his mind. In 3 months, he has reached state level of cricket. How was it possible? No extra time in practice. Studies going on as before and doing very well in studies. Otherwise, he thought he had to compromise either studies for the sport or sport for the studies. These limitations of our own mind that limits our own success. How do we understand this mind and remove our own limitations so that not only we attain greater success, but we have a vision of expansion. We have a vision of expansion. And in that expansion, we attain great significance. This is a theme that all our great scriptures have been pointing out, which we've brushed them off as religious scriptures, etc. In fact, I have looked into all the scriptures of the world which I could get translations or understand. And I have found in them such beautiful management techniques, such beautiful systems of self-development that can bring about not only great success in our life, but bring about significance. Now, before we conclude, I would like to have a demonstration on stage for one element of significance which I have hinted upon but not yet spoken. This is a game of competition. How many of you have the confidence to win? Please come on stage. Even if you don't have a handkerchief, we'll use somebody else's handkerchief. Some men and some ladies on stage, please, as volunteers. Let us see your spirit of competition, your alertness, your strength, your fastness, all your talents, so that we can see the potential in you come out. We have here 3 hula loops, which are considered as 3 companies. So we can have it on the 3 sides. One in the front, one there. And one behind me. Now, when I say ready, steady, go, Let us see how fast you can achieve it. And what you have to achieve is, when I say ready, steady, go, 7 of you make one group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Count yourself, 7. Another group. Yeah. 7.
One more.
And 7 of you, how many of you? 8. Okay, you can have an extra. Let's see if you win. Yeah. 8 of you make a group. 3 groups. The moment I say ready, steady, and go, grab as many handkerchiefs that you can from this table and take it to your circle. Yeah? Take it to your circle. As many as you can. Ready, steady, go! Take it to your circle. Put in your circle. Okay. Now, you have got 2. Now, you can see the backbenchers are always yeah, the achievers in the end, okay? But now, what you have to do is that in each circle there is some of the other handkerchief. That's your wealth. Yeah. Now, what we are going to do is, each group has to manage to get all the handkerchiefs into their circle. Yeah. And you cannot stop anyone taking from your circle. Yeah. And you have to get, and you cannot hold on. You have to put in your circle because you have to put it back in your company, right? Yeah. Now let us see who can get all the handkerchiefs in that circle. Ready, steady, go.
I think the best thing is everybody put everything there.
In your circle, you have to win. Fast, quickly. And you can grab it quickly. And get it to your circle. Get it to your circle quickly. It has to be in your circle quickly. Don't hold it. Don't hold it. You can't hold it. Grab it. All circles are empty, isn't it? Most of the companies are empty eventually, is it not? Yeah? Should I get into the competition? Should I get into the competition? Yeah? Should I? Yes. And let me do it for you? Yes. Are you sure all 21 of you can stop me from doing it?
Yes. Which is
Let us see if all of you can stop me.
putting all the three together.
Please hand me a circle. Now put your handkerchiefs in it. Yes. Everybody is willing to put this in a circle and nobody is grabbing out of the circle because it is everybody's circle, not my circle. Isn't it? Everybody inspired to do it. Everybody successful. And everybody equal amount. Thank you very much. And you were wonderful competitors. And now find your handkerchiefs. So before we conclude, if you see this demonstration, our sense of competitiveness, you saw, and I told you that women are better competitors than men. Yeah? And was I wrong? Yeah? Their aggression, their willingness, yeah, men can't compare anything compared to that, Never see that you get more women in your company, and please value the woman in your life, especially your wife. Now, if you see, this is how the competitive world works. Yeah? Each one trying to grab from each other's circle. There will never be a time that all of the wealth can be in one person, in one company, in one place, and for how long? Yeah? Or eventually, there is none in every circle because one or two individuals are holding it, and mind you, they can't use it. Yeah? In Swiss banks. See what happens. And yet, I did not have to jump, I did not have to fight, I didn't have to quarrel, I didn't have to push, I didn't have to hold. You bring all together and everybody's inspired to put it in. And nobody is a loser. Otherwise, somebody wins, somebody loses. From success, we don't reach significance because we are so afraid of failure and losing. So afraid of failure and losing that we never really succeed. Or at least our success does not reach significance. There's only a limited capital in the world, and yet that limited capital can be of great use when we come together. We talk about corporates, but there is no cooperation. Is it not? Yeah. Remember, with a straight hand, we cannot even feed ourselves. But with hands spread out, we can feed not one, but two. And feeding each other, as Bhagavad Gita says, parasparam bhavayanta shreyam paramavapsyata. Not preyam. Not only do you attain great success, but you attain great significance. That change in our mind, where from the individual we think of ourselves as the total. When in the success of others we find our own success. As in Japan those days, where every person in Japan felt that if Japan is successful, I am successful. If Nigeria collapses, everybody eventually collapses in Nigeria. To add significance to our success, if we consider ourselves as a whole rather than as individuals, as a country, as a nation, as a humanity, as a one world, and today in globalization, we're talking about it. That's why you can imagine where companies used to talk about millions today are talking about trillions. See what globalization has done. But the true spirit of globalization lies in our understanding that we have to expand our vision. We have to train our minds. And we have to accommodate the many within ourselves. That is the vision of Godhood. That is the vision of spirituality. That is what is called as teamwork. And together we can attain great significance. Rather than fighting and grabbing from each other, where we can put in our vision, our talents. Look at what the Jews have done in the world. Yeah, as far as wealth is concerned. Yeah, because they think of themselves as a whole. A lot more there is there to achieve this significance. But with this one demonstration, I'm sure there has been a shift in our consciousness, where we begin to realize the importance of this significance. Very often in giving, we think we are going to lose. But very often in giving, we only gain. So just this very short session to all you achievers, movers and shakers. Yeah. We have to now be builders. Builders of a nation, builders of society. Such builders that will leave behind a historical legacy that the world will remember, whether economically, whether politically, whether socially. And the thing is, we can do it. The moment we give up, like many of the people on stage gave up, nothing is going to happen. It'll be a standstill. You need only one to move the society. And who can say that that one is not you, or you, or you? Nelson Mandela, in his inaugural speech, has said something very beautiful. He said, in this world, we are not afraid of our weaknesses, but we are actually afraid of our strength. We are not afraid of our incapacities, but we are afraid of our capacities. We are far greater and superior than what we can imagine ourselves to be. And when we express our greatness, we allow others also to express their greatness. But when we do not express our greatness, we are very insecure of others' greatness, and we naturally try to snatch away from them. Therefore, our great rishis of India, they never said, you are a sinner, you are doomed, you need help. They said, lift yourself by yourself. And infinite is your potential, and infinite you can gain. And such great masters gained beyond infinite, there is nothing. And yet they brought even significance to the gain of infinite, the gain of Godhood. So there is nothing that we cannot achieve, and we can achieve it. To recognize that potential within yourself, to break through all the limitations that you have within yourself, your own self-conceived notion of your little self, which in the world you might want to expand this much, this much, this much, but is still limited, is what all the spiritual masters of the world have tried to teach us. Break through the limitations of your shell that we have created very often of our own success. Because once we have succeeded with a particular formula, we are very afraid to take any further risk, and therefore our own success becomes our limitations. How do we break through that shell of our own success to attain significance? That journey is not the journey of fighting, but that's the journey of subtlety. That's not the journey of thrusting outside, but gliding within. And as we glide within to find greater depths and the greater potential in the very depths of our personality, greater is our achievement in the world. So with that, I wish you all in Kenya this great success, and may it bring about significance in your life. Also, I thank all of you here for whatever you have contributed so far, not only to your success, but to the success of the people around you, your nation, your country, whether here or abroad. And I pray and wish the best for all of you. Hari Om.